We've come to revisit a landscape job that Steph and I designed and installed a couple years ago. It was like in a 4 or 5 part series where we walked through and talked about what we were going to do, and then we divided it into spaces. Griffin has a big space to run around here, so he is gone. I held him as long as I could hold him in place there before he had to take off. A lot of it's really come into its own. I had not been here in months and months, and it just really has exploded. So we're going to show you some of the plants that we had put in from that install. It's kind of fun to revisit things occasionally. We did not put these Encore Azaleas in. I think this is carnation, and they were already here on this retaining wall, behind this retaining wall. But it's 32 degrees out here in the day after Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And look how many flowers are still on them. Kind of fun to have something flower that heavily, you know, at this time of the year. There's a second retaining wall up here. There was some construction added up here on top of this deck above us. This was open above us, but we had the forethought to put in things up here that wouldn't need really hardly any additional water. And so the cast iron plants are up here. This Mahonia is up here. Anything that's up here is super drought tolerant up here at the top. It's not a garden that gets any maintenance. So other than outside of weeding, there may be a few weeds you see, but it's in pretty good shape overall. Outside of weeding, there's just not really any maintenance done here. So things needed to be fairly low maintenance overall. But the Mahonia is holding up under a shelter with no direct rain on it. And same thing with the cast iron plants. We're gonna see a bunch more cast iron plants as we go up the side of the house. There's some Munchkin oak leaf hydrangeas here. I believe there was a third one here, so I don't know what happened to that. You know, in our garden, we plant one of everything, but here we did plant groupings of things, you know, because it's not normal for other people to want a garden. It's only one of everything. This was a memorial tree that our friend came back and put in her garden here for her mom. This is a Tamukiyama, Japanese maple is what it looks like. Can't tell because the foliage has been, we've had a couple frosts on it, but that's the tree that one looks like. It can be kept. Our Tamukiyama is 20 years old and it's only this tall and this wide, so this thing can be kept this big forever. Or there are Tamukiyama Japanese maples out in the world that are, you know, 20 feet wide and 10 feet tall. The Carex, the Everillo Carex still looks good down at the bottom. Sometimes, you know, those will get cut back. You know, sometimes they won't. Just depends on the winter we're having. There's some Sarcocoa over here that have budded up, but haven't opened the flower. So I'm guessing if the flowers, the way those kind of operate is if it stayed warmer a little longer, they'd go ahead and open up. But if they hold the buds kind of closed like they are, they may go through the winter and then open up in February or March. Just kind of depends. These Utopia plum yews look great. And we put 5 of them along the edge of these steps going up. Leaves are dropping on things. So, but that, just this is a very shady side of the house. It's 8 in the morning. The sun's coming up over here behind us, but there's basically a pine forest right here. And so even with the sun up, aiming straight into here, there's 50 trees back here to block it. So this doesn't get any direct sun. Some parts of the year, 0 direct sun, I'm sure. But these Utopia plum yews, not a lot of conifers for the shade. So, you know, these Cephalataxis are a good choice for that. There's prostrate ones, fastigiate ones, and then shrubby ones. And this Utopia is one of the shrubby ones. But I'm super impressed with how these look along this path. This is 2-3 years of good growth on these. This is probably pretty fast growth for these. They're usually pretty slow growing. It'll be another 2-3 years before they even need any maintenance, which is kind of nice. We'll start on this little path going up the edge here. The goal here, you know, sometimes one of the things we talk about is a mixed border screen. So we have this narrow area. We want a mix of things going up the side here, where if we lean on the exact same thing the entire way up the side here, then if something happens to one of them, or cold winter, whatever, then you're going to lose that entire screen. And so this is one of example of a mixture of plants. We'll go through those real quick. On the other side here, up against the foundation, again, no direct sun all year long. And Steph went with this combination of cast iron plants, and this is a Acuba called Marmorata, which if you see gold dust Acuba has a little bit of yellow dots on it. Marmorata is a much more yellow version of that. So there's a lot of different ways to get contrast, right? We could have leaf size, and I think a lot of people would definitely go for leaf size contrast. So if we have this big leaf Acuba, we'd put something here that's finer textured, right? We could have done that. So that could have been soft caress Mahonia would be an example of that. And we would get that contrast that way with the dark green and the light foliage. In this particular case, it's just done with color, and both things have very large leaves on them. So, you know, you don't have to, you can also have the same kind of almost tropical foliage going. It's kind of nice in shady spaces to have things that have big, you know, palmate leaves and big, thick, strappy foliage, that kind of thing, because they really stand out. And they also, most of them do well in shady spaces. But again, this is not getting any direct sun whatsoever. This, I see a stripe on this Aspidistra or cast iron plant. Was this, I don't remember if this was a variegated one or not. I think it was just a straight green one, wasn't it? But there's definitely a striping on that one. We may readdress that later. If there's one that's really has an impressive stripe on it, we might divide that out at some point. But they've done extremely well. These can be, the Aspidistra, just like I talked about with the Carex, these could be cut to the ground in the late winter and allowed to come back out. Most of the time though, we just come in and take out about the worst 20% of the leaves. So if you see a leaf like this that's a bit tattered, we cut that to the ground in the late winter and it'll get replaced by a new leaf. These do flower, but they flower right down at the bottom. And I bet if we got lucky, could we get lucky? I don't think so. This is the time of year that you'll see flowers down at the base of them in the fall, but I don't see any right now. Okay, I'm not gonna get lucky on that. That was probably really loud in the camera and the microphone too. Okay, so this was Allegheny viburnum, right? So there are a lot of different viburnum choices to use.
Allegheny leatherleaf.
Yeah, leatherleaf viburnum, and it's leatherleaf. I think you could probably hear if I do that near the microphone. You could probably hear the thickness of that leaf on these leatherleaf viburnum. Blooming at an odd time, like so many things out in the world right now, they're blooming at an odd time. If you do a mixed border screen like this, some things are going to grow at different rates than others. And we find with like Alyssium, and we're going to see a couple different Alyssium, they're a little slower to get started, but they'll fill in. Once they get roots under them, they'll fill in pretty quickly. So that is Florida Sunshine Alyssium. There's a couple more of those Utopia plum yews in front of that. These holly ferns are doing great over here, kind of the perfect condition, especially down toward the bottom of the hill here. This is a big slope coming down, and so this moisture is definitely settling down right here at the bottom. So this holly fern is a good choice for that. One of the things we know about screening a shady space is the plants are going to race off. Even things that will take shade are going to race off into the sunlight, which is going to leave them thin down at the bottom. So they almost immediately need to be underplanted. Keep that in mind. You're gonna have to layer in a shady screen. So these leatherleaf viburnum are already thinning down here at the bottom. They're doing fine. They're blooming. Blooming at an odd time of year. Foliage looks great. No problems with them. But they are lifting themselves up. So already, these things like this Cephalotaxis is going to be perfect underplanting them. Same thing with these Shindo viburnum. They're racing off, and now they're in the sun a little bit. There's actually some sun up toward the top of where they are now. But the bottom's going to stay thin like this. So there's a Mahonia planted underneath it, a Miss Scarlet Alyssium planted underneath it. You just know that you're going to need to block this bottom 5 or 6 feet, ultimately. That Miss Scarlet Alyssium will bloom at a more normal time in the spring. Red flowers, really beautiful red flowers on the outside of that one. And that's Beijing Beauty, Mahonia, that's underneath it. But you see how this works, of having, again, any kind of screening plant is gonna stretch like this. So you're gonna fight that. So you have two choices. You can fight it and cut the top, cut the top, cut the top to try to keep it fuller down toward the bottom. Or you can just go ahead and give in immediately and initially underplant it with something that will fill, this Mahonia will fill this space, you know, over the next couple of years. So the bottom part will still be screened. Sun's gonna get weird up here, potentially. This Osmanthus fragrans, it's blooming, smells great, but it's got a lot of root competition next to it. There's actually a ligustrum, Japanese ligustrum back here, absolutely full of seed, unfortunately. A big chunk of it's dead. It's got a giant crack in it back here. I think half this plant is dead, and I think it was originally 2 plants, and it's become a tree, which they do, but it's a lot of root competition, so I think it's kept this Osmanthus from growing. This is what I've talked about. When you have severe root competition in your garden, some of the plants are going to establish much slower, you know, but as you get away from this, you can see how everything's kind of flourishing. This Fatsia is another example of using large leaf plants in shady spaces, and it's blooming right now, which you get these crazy flowers on the Fatsia. Pollinators absolutely love them. Non-native plant, but it blooms in off season, and the native pollinators come along, and the honeybees, which are not native, but they all come along and take advantage of the Fatsia here in the garden. This Arizona cypress, Carolina sapphire, Arizona cypress was moved here in a completely separate video, right? We had this this was in a container in our garden for a couple of years. We needed a place for it to go. Planted it here. Again, it's immediately stretching because it wants sun, and it's getting up there now where it can find sun, but underneath it, it has other things planted under it. We have put in the 3 gold Nandinas, which are probably not getting enough light to stay, to keep that gold coloration, but the plants look great. These are non-invasive Nandinas. You see there's no flowers on them, no berries on them, so they're not gonna cause a problem, but they should have a few more. It should be a little more yellow. Again, it's just such low light that it doesn't. The early wonder camellia is really getting going here. This is a kind of a fall blooming Camellia japonica we've shown off at our house as well. These camellias can be a little slow to get going. Mojo pittosporum, that thing will bloom in the spring with kind of a scented flower that's kind of down in the plant, but really we're not growing that thing for flowers. We're growing it for that foliage and its shade tolerance and its perfect mounding habit. That's never been pruned. 2-3 years in the ground there. These Nandinas were already here and have just remained. This is October Magic Inspiration. So in our garden, we have October Magic Ruby, we have October Magic, what else do we have? White Shishi, light pink Shishi, Orchid, but this is Inspiration. And you see Inspiration, yeah. Oh, we have Crimson Clover, but that's not one of the October Magic ones. This is still Bobby Green's breeding. This one has the pink edge on it, Inspiration does, and sometimes it'll be more pink and sometimes a little less pink, but super showy. But this is fall blooming Camellia sasanqua. This Viburnum tinus, I got no idea what's going on with this thing. I've planted literally hundreds of Viburnum tinus in my time in 40 years in this business, and I have never, this is 3 of them together. We planted 3 of them in a group. I've never seen them grow this fast. I've seen them get this big. I mean, they can get, there's one we filmed at NC State a couple years ago that was 12 feet tall and 12 feet wide, something like that. But this thing is just on its way. And it's been, unfortunately, because it's growing this fast, never in a million years would we have thought that this thing would have grown this size and blocked this window this fast. Otherwise, we wouldn't have put it here. I mean, I really expected it to be here for 10 or 15 years. because it's been cut, almost all the flower buds have been taken off of it. So there's only a few flower buds on it for the upcoming spring. So that's unfortunate. Sometimes you get something wrong, but not in a million years have I ever. I mean, it's 6 foot tall and it's been pruned recently. So I think it was this tall in just, has this 2 years, Steph?
2 or 3.
2.5, yeah. It's really wild how much that thing's grown. And then this is an October Magic Shishi, white Shishi, right there that's kind of tucked under it. It's the Viburnum tinus is eating it. So there's some of the things from that 5-part series that are looking good here in the garden in Raleigh. I thought we'd just do a follow-up. Needs to be mulched. There's some bare dirt underneath here. There's a few weeds back here, but other than that, I mean, it looks pretty good. I think they'll mulch it over the winter going into spring and prevent some of these additional weeds from coming up. But it's 32 degrees out here, so we're gonna go in and eat some more turkey because it's the day after Turkey Day and we got lots of leftovers. So hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving, and I think the day after you see this one will be the question and answer video. If you've got any gardening questions, you can ask it under this video as well. Thanks for watching. This all gold juniper continues to look good. There's like a 6 foot wide concrete path coming in off the driveway up here, and it's nice to have something that grows out on it a little bit. Not something that takes it over. You still want to have the, have the walkway obviously, but it's nice to have something that comes up on it and softens it just a little bit. That's brighter seasonally. It's more gold, and actually when it gets sun on it during the winter time, it gets really quite gold, and then in the spring on the new growth is really, really gold. This is probably the most muted it is all year. But the Firepower Nandina are in the process of turning this red color for the winter, so that gold and red combination looks great. This is another non-invasive Nandina that's widely used in the trade, but it's green about 7 months out of the year, and then about 5 months out of the year it does this, and it's just on its way to turning bright red. There's another one of those Allegheny Viburnum behind it, and again, one thing about doing landscape design for someone else, for us, again, we buy one of everything because we just love plants, have lots of different plants. But on a landscape job like this, there's 3 of those leatherleaf Mahonia down in that section down in the bottom, and then we moved, there's one up here in this corner. So you have some continuity, something that spills over here or there. And so where we talk about buying odd numbers a lot of times, for us, sometimes we'll buy even numbers and then split it out as, like you buy 8 and you do a group of 5 and a group of 3, or you buy 4 and you buy, put in a group of 3 and a group of 1, like this one, right? The loquat behind it just looks fantastic, and it's flowering right now, which is pretty typical. We have our neighbors where there's a loquat video on the channel. If you want to learn more about loquats, we can grow them here. We're not going to get loquats, but we do get the flowers. We do get the incredible foliage. They're beautiful here. And they bloom in November, which is wild. And we passed our neighbors the other day, the one we had filmed for the loquat video on the channel. It was covered in bees while it's in full bloom. So it's stunning plant blooming at an interesting time, and it looks tropical, and that's another thing we did here, because this is one of those long shadow places. Either it's shady, or you have long shadows here. These big tropical looking leaf things just look good in those spaces. They stand out in those spaces. There's a black dragon cryptomeria as a corner piece up there above the, you all right, buddy? Up there at the entryway. That one will just stay tall and narrow. It can be kept however you want to keep it. And some variegated abelia behind it that look good. Probably maybe a couple of changes need to be made up in that little narrow planted area, and there's a few more. There's some autumn empress planted on the other side of the sidewalk that are in full bloom as well. But there's a few additional items that I'll include right here at the end of this video if you continued to watch after I said goodbye already. Thanks for watching.